Hey guys, it's Shane back here on WD18 for another preview. This time, the Golden Boys are at home, back at the Vic, taking on Bournemouth in a 3 o'clock kickoff. Before we mention and go on and talk about that game, just want to mention some great news for the Golden Boys. Of course, as you've been hearing over the last 24 hours or so, Nathaniel Chalobah has been given a call-up to the England squad. Absolutely brilliant news to see that. Of course, as people know, Gareth Southgate, big fan of Chalobah, even said had he not got injured, he may well have played a part in the World Cup, been part of the squad. That unfortunately didn't happen, injuries got in the way, but great to see Chalobah back as part of the England fold, and clear to see that Southgate really does have an interest in utilising him more. Of course, the flip side to all of this is I think quite possibly the biggest mystery of the whole England call-up is how Will Hughes hasn't received a call-up, played much more than Nathaniel Chalobah has. In fact, Chalobah's played very little in that time. Positives and negatives there, but ultimately in England, any Watford player that gets called up to their international squad, especially England, deserves recognition, and fair play to Chalobah for doing so. Also, big shout out to Jadon Sancho, while I'm mentioning him. A lot of people may not know, he actually started off his career at Watford, joined us from the age of 7, left, moved off to Manchester City, and is now playing for another team in yellow. He's playing for Dortmund at the moment, got an assist on Wednesday night in their Champions League game, getting first team football, exactly what English youngsters really need now, not just running away on the benches over here in the Premier League. He's making real inroads in the Bundesliga, very, very promising, and yeah, as an ex-Horn, he's always got my full support. So that's great to see. Also, big round of applause for the rest of our lads as well who've been called up for international duty. Craig Cathcart to the Northern Ireland squad, Isaac Success to the Nigeria squad, Roberto Pereira to the Argentine squad, and bizarrely, Alberto Penaranda to the Venezuela squad, despite playing a grand total of 0 minutes for Watford. He's been called up to the Venezuela national team. Great stuff all round. Now, unfortunately, having said all of that, it does sadly mean that there is an international break after this game, which is very frustrating. Watford, for me, need to get back into winning ways again. We've got a good chance to do it again, as I say, on Saturday. After, I'd say, a run of maybe a couple of matches where things haven't really gone our way. You know, I look back, and I'm sure, as you guys may have seen on the podcast, if you haven't seen the podcast, make sure you check it out. Talking about the Fulham game, talking about the Arsenal game, just a real lack of finishing quality, as I said in there, and sometimes I think almost a lack of urgency as well. I specifically think about the Arsenal game in that respect, just not really whipping the ball in there, kind of putting Arsenal under pressure. They didn't have a great game, but ultimately 2 shots on target for them, 2 goals, and at the end of the day, Arsenal were able to punish us. We're kind of coming into this game, I wouldn't say a slump, in no way is this a slump, but what I would say is this is the kind of game where I actually think we do need a win. I think we need a relatively comprehensive win as well, just not so much to ease concerns, but I think just to get that winning mentality back in the side again, you know, to ensure that we are taking our chances adequately as well. Just a lot of missed chances in that Arsenal game. You know, we look at the one for Troy, it's a great save by Bernd Leno, and again, Isaac Success's chance. Oh God, you know, that thing's been haunting me for like the last week or so now. But it's quite clear in the Premier League, we just can't have those kind of chances and not finish teams off. We have to finish teams off. We have to finish the likes of and teams of the calibre of Arsenal. Now, we're back at the Vic, as I said, on Saturday. Big home support there needed. And of course, with all that as well, all the team news that's been released, and there has been some positive team news for once for Watford, confirmed within the last few hours or so, or earlier on today. It has been confirmed that Gerard Deulofeu is back and in contention for selection for this weekend. Now, he started training, I think, back again last week. Wasn't fit enough for the Arsenal game, but he will be back. There's been a few calls, I think, to start him. I would love to see him start. I think if you're fit enough for the bench, you're fit enough to start. The question is, with this side, who do you drop? Now, there's been another big injury by way of actual team news, which could maybe aid this decision a little bit. Mark Navarro at right back has picked up a knock and will be unavailable for the game on Saturday. Really disappointing, actually. I mean, despite all my concerns about him when he was picked for the Arsenal game, he actually produced a very decent performance in there. I'll start Kiko at right back. I'll keep it relatively unchanged. I think for now, I think the one other change I would make, and I think I kind of alluded to this in the podcast, I would maybe give Isaac Successor's chance. Start him up top. I would replace him instead of Andre Gray. Gray's been on a good run of form, but I just think Isaac's had more of an impact when he's come on. He seems to drive at that defence, and I think that's what could be key. Going up against Bournemouth, you've got some pretty solid centre-backs in there. You look at the likes of Nathan Ake, who of course is an ex-Hornet, and you look at some of their other players in there. We need to be not relatively compact, but I think we need to get the ball to the likes of Troy, get the ball to the likes of Isaac, and their physicality, their strength, I think will be key up against those defenders. We can't have players like Andre Gray. I just feel with Andre, he'll be bullied off the ball far too easily. By way of other team news for us, Stefano Akaka, Miguel Brissos, Sebastian Prudl are all back from injury. I don't think they're going to make any threats to the starting 11. Good to have, though, in the wider world of the squad, because you never know what's going to happen with us when it comes to injuries. Debatable issue as to whether or not De La Feu starts. I think Javi will probably start him on the bench. Will Hughes on the right hand side. I think a lot of fans have said Will Hughes is undroppable. I actually disagree with that. I thought he did okay against Arsenal. I think he should have done much better with his. I think especially his first chance that he had, that volley against at the Emirates, but he's been in a good run of form at the moment. Ultimately, the right side of midfield isn't his natural position, and maybe, just maybe, that might be a potential reason as to why Javi just says, all right, let's just go with a natural right winger, let's just really get at Bournemouth from the start. Speaking of Bournemouth, I was watching that Monday night game. A side that never seems to give up is the one thing I would say with them. I mean, they've come to the Vic in the last 3 seasons. They've picked up 3 draws. Now, the first season was a 0-0 draw, and I remember falling asleep in that one. But last couple of matches, they never seem to kind of give up. The game last season, I was sitting next to Jacob actually in the Rookery for the vlog, and Defoe came on, I think as a late substitute, and I literally said to Jacob, he's gonna score. He's a poacher. That's something actually that Nikhil said as well. I think in his fan cam, if you feed Defoe, he will score you the goals, and he did. and he rescued Bournemouth a point. They're a tough side. They've got some really good players in there. I worry about the likes of Callum Wilson and Josh King, because they are genuinely great players that I think will threaten our back line. Cathcart Cabasele will have a very, very good game. I thought they both had very good games in general against Arsenal. Cathcart I thought was unlucky with his own goal. Cabasele played relatively well though. I think the strength and the unity between those two defenders, I think that's going to be crucial come Saturday afternoon. I look elsewhere in their team. I look at someone like Ryan Fraser in their midfield. He's a bit of a pocket rocket in there. He could get a goal or an assist. I think he looks good. Of course, I'm a big fan of Nathan Ake in their back line. He actually won their Player of the Season last year, so that just shows a testament to how far he's come in his career as well. So I'm confident that we can get a result at home. I think we need to start treating our home games, I think, a little bit more seriously. We need to start making the Vic a bit more of a fortress. Of course, we only picked up 1 defeat there again, and that was down to a sloppy few minutes against United. But the atmosphere needs to be on it now. We've all talked about, the atmosphere at the Spurs game and the United game, and it was all great. Yeah, when the so-called top 6 sides come to the Vic, everything's great. It needs to be like that for every single game, and I've said that before. There's no point in getting the atmosphere going for a Spurs game or for a United game or when Chelsea comes to town. It doesn't matter about those games. It's about every single game. It's about having top quality support, shouting, cheering, because I honestly think when the Rookery starts roaring, the opposition stumble, and our players become really reinvigorated with that. So I'm looking forward to the game, and I am relatively confident, but I've always got this thought in the back of my mind, and I had it, I think, at the Vic last season when we were 2-1 up. You just know Bournemouth will try and find their way in there. Their fans are going to be confident on nicking a result. At the Vic, they've done it in the last couple of seasons. They've nicked late goals against us, or relatively late goals against us. And I think for that reason, this is the kind of game where I think our chances taken are going to be absolutely crucial. If Bournemouth get a chance, they're going to take it. The likes of Callum Wilson ain't going to scupper too many opportunities. With us, our finishing's got to be better. And I would give Isaac Success a run up top, just to see how well he does, really, just to see how well he kind of plays. And I'm going to end this preview now with, I've been speaking for a while, I'm going to end this preview with a prediction. And I'm going to be not relatively ballsy, I'm going to go very confident though. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Watford win. Goals for us coming from Troy Deeney, Isaac Success, and I'm going to go Roberto Pereira as well. He is due a goal, I think, the Argentine. Let's get a good result.